All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are covering everything Wolfey Draft League on the J Jingles channel, and I don't know if you've looked at the screen, but today I'm joined by one of the most consistent players I have ever seen in VGC. 10 Worlds qualifications, multiple regional wins, top 4 at Worlds twice, and he's still going strong. Just finished 10th at the Worlds in 2025. You know him as James Speed 1, James Baek. Dude, thank you for being here so much. Like, this is great.
Hey, glad to be here. I actually don't think I've been called James Speed 1 since Gen 8. That I retired that name in Gen 8.
I was gonna say I hadn't heard it in a while, but apparently the internet seems to think that you're still called that. But we'll get into that a little bit. But like, no, this is great, man. I love just kind of talking to the players and stuff, just to kind of get into like the mindset of the player, because like obviously you play the VGC side, but you also play the draft side as well, and I feel like those two are linked, and finding out how they're linked is, I feel it's kind of important, because you've seen a few players really go from that draft side. Like I know Justin Tang is one of them. Another one I think is Hopeless. He won a tournament and stuff, and they're big draft guys. So like it's I think there's a link somewhere. So we could probably find it by talking to more of you guys. So thank you for being on here. But we mentioned the James Speed 1 name. Like, where did that even come from?
I think it was just like, you know, when you're in middle school and you're trying to figure out like a username, like for the internet. Hard, yeah, like I guess like the thing is, I was a pretty big Sonic fan at the time, and it was just weird to figure out like a name that was like combination. So I was like, what's like the trait? And it's like speed, and I'm like, okay, I'll just put it together since like it will work, I guess. Because like there were some times where I was like really impatient in middle school, so I was like, I like to get things done quickly, you know, so right to the point, and that was basically how the name formed.
So it was a 2-second name that just stuck. That's so funny. Those are the best ones though, like the ones that just happen naturally. Like mine was I'm Batman. Like when I had my first Hotmail account, I think I was, if anyone knows me that's listening to this right now, like they probably remember that email. It was like, and then I started applying for jobs. I'm like, I can't apply for a job with an I'm Batman 12 or something like that. So no, it's funny how that actually came in. So I want to rewind just a little bit. I'm probably going to walk people through kind of like obviously your history with VGC, and then we'll get more into like draft, and then maybe the psychology of things, and then we'll get into team building, because I know you're a big team builder, and that translates to draft really well. So I have a couple of teams here I want to ask you about as well. So we'll dive into a little bit of that just so people know. But let's rewind just a little bit. Like, what got you hooked onto competitive Pokemon in the first place? Was it like your first event where you just like fell in love, or was there like a specific tournament that you're like, wait, I can actually do this? Like, was it your first one?
I think for me, there was a game back in the day in Gen 4, beautiful Pokemon Battle Revolution, magical, like it was literally just meant for battling. Literally battles were all what Pokemon Battle Revolution was, and I was huge on like just playing as many online matches as I possibly could. It's probably like the game I probably have the most hours on Pokemon wise in general. It was so much fun, and no matter what, I was just having a bunch of fun times just playing through that, exchanging rental teams, all that kind of stuff that you were able to do in that game. And I think that kind of like translated, because it was actually like the VGC format I was playing. It was like 4v4 doubles. But yeah, like I just was hooked on that. Then I ended up going to tournaments later on, and you know, it's the same format. And then yeah, I think I've just been a huge Pokemon fan in general. And like, I think back in the day that really hooked me on to competitive in general.
Yeah, like there's always that one game that you just remember that sticks, and you just fall in love with it, and then you go to a tournament, and then you get the competitive side of it, like the global competitive side, or even like the regional competitive side where people coming all over the place, and you just fall in love. Like, is that part of what you kind of were attracted to as well? Like, do you consider yourself like a competitive person where you're like, you want to beat the best? Like,
I would say, yeah. I think I was very competitive, especially as a kid. I would always compete in like literally just test grades, or who literally got to the class first, like who literally got to the classroom first. Like that was a thing. And also that literally also kind of tied into the name James Speed 1, by the way. So yeah, like I was a pretty competitive kid back then, I'd say.
Oh, dude, that's so fun. You just brought back so many memories, man. We used to always race to the water fountain, race from recess into class, who would get there first. Like, that's so funny that you just brought that up.
and
Oh man.
especially racing to leave the classroom first.
Oh well,
That
yeah.
was probably the big one.
It's
That was
funny
the
how
big
that
one.
translates nowadays, where you're like, I want to race 2 class, and now it's like, I can't wait to get home, man. I can't wait to get home. Like, get me out of here. So how old were you like then? We talked about Battle Revolution and like what got you hooked. Like, how old were you then? Like early teens?
No, I was. Well, Battle Revolution came out in like 2000. I'd say 2009, I believe. So I was like 9 to 10 years old back then.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like around that age.
Okay, so you've been doing this for like so long. Like, what keeps you going? For so long, like obviously there's like the grind of playing on the circuit that you guys do, and you go to so many tournaments. Like, what keeps you going when normally a player would like burn out?
I think it's a healthy amount of break. Like actually, like I've competed less, I think, throughout like the last year or two. And that's mainly because like if you go all in competition wise, you are going to burn out eventually, right? You're going to so many tournaments. I think having a healthy balance in general for like life and your hobbies is going to be a pretty big one in order to prevent burnout, and just making sure that you continue enjoying the process. And I do enjoy like the game itself, like in general, like how it works. I think compared Pokemon is such a unique game with how it's designed. So I do really enjoy the aspects. I like showcasing it online, and yeah, like I just don't see myself stopping anytime soon, at least.
Yeah, so it stays fresh, and I think the new formats and stuff, like obviously we're in a little bit of a lull right now with Reg H just going on so long, but the cool part is like keeping people interested is the meta is evolving, isn't it? Like you see it was all Ursaluna everywhere, and now you're starting to see such creative teams. Like literally Rabombi just won a tournament. Like it went from like, man, this is so boring, to wait a second, it just keeps growing. Like, and people are bringing such really unique things like dancer or choreo and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you've probably been paying attention to what's been going on. Like, I know you haven't been competing as of late, just probably burned out from all worlds and stuff, right? But it's crazy how it just keeps evolving. Some get really stale and some evolve. Like what's kind of stood out to you right now, like with what's been going on in Reg H?
I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting because I'd say in general with Reg H, I actually would kind of say like it's just a bunch of old concepts kind of just coming back and like adaptations. For instance, like even like the teams that we see are winning, they're kind of just basically the builds. So for instance, in Reg H, there's a very common core, we call it Doug, which is Dragonite, Ursaluna, usually it's the Blood Moon form, and Golden Go. And the Rabombi team is actually just literally those 3 Pokemon with a few small changes, right? Like the Rabombi takes over for the like maybe a Whimsicott Tailwind offense, but I think Rabombi had a specific niche where you could go with like more offensive, just fake tears immediately, since you had that covert cloak in the form of an ability, and you can keep Focus Sash. So like in a lot of cases, it has a different niche that it can provide in general. So I think a lot of the teams actually, like, even though we're seeing small optimizations, and that's kind of like how usually like these really developed formats turn out, like you'll see like adjustments that we've had. Like for instance, the start of Regulation H this season was Sneasler with Acrobatics and Sword Stance with Grassy Seed.
Oh yeah.
Was actually a thing from Regulation H Part 1. It was actually used in the grand challenges back then, so it kind of just had to resurface. Same with Rabombi, it actually did well in like previous Reg H grand challenges before, and like Homo as well also has done here and there pretty well. Like for instance, it did get top 4 at LIC last Regulation H. So like you're just seeing like players, you know, experiment a little bit, but for the most part, I'd say the core Pokemon are still doing really well, right? Because Dragonite, Blood Moon, Ursaluna, Golden Go, they're just really good at what they do in this format.
Yeah, and the cool thing about like the creators and players just making new teams and finding, it's like problem solving, right? Like you got like, okay, I've got Whimsicott on my team. Why do I keep losing to my dark types? Well, I can't fake tears them. I can't encore them or whatever it is. Like, is there what else could I do? And they just go into like this plethora of like Pokemon options, right? And you're like, wait a second, I could run Rabombi and it kind of does the same thing, but it's not stopped by this and this. Oh, well, Covert Cloak versus Focus Sash and stuff like that. So you just, well, my ability does this. It's like Inner Focus and Mental Herb. It's like, or Inner Focus and Focus Sash or whatever it is, right? So you essentially have 2 items in one. right? So that's really creative, like how these players do it, and you're a big creator as yourself, like making your own teams. But like, so you've lived through pretty much the entire VGC era. You've been doing this for so long, like from in-person tournaments to online tournaments, like open team sheet, closed team sheet, things like that. Do you miss anything about like the old days, like smaller tournaments, hidden info, like grassroots kind of thing?
I mean, there were ups and downs a lot. Like, for instance, like the big upsides were like regionals back in the day were literally only one day for VGC at least. Like, it would be TCG would be Saturday and then Sunday would be VGC. So literally, like, you could show up to a tournament and it would be like noon, and then everyone would be done by like 8 or 9 p.m. So like that's all the tournaments were. So that was like a thing. Of course, that was best of one. So
oh my goodness.
That is something to keep in mind. So I don't miss that aspect. I mean, there are a few aspects I probably do miss. I think especially as someone who's become probably well known, like as a player, I kind of miss the old days of just being able to show up to a tournament and people didn't know who I was, and I'd be able to just like play. Because it's like, I think if you wanted to like counter me in general or know how I play, it's like pretty easy to, because like I lay posts on YouTube of like my matches in general, but I think that makes it harder to keep up in the relevant current format because there's so much data on me at this point. Like, everyone knows to what I expect, right? Because I think in Gen 9, for example, I probably have lost to the most amount of players that I possibly have, and I think a lot of them they always tell me, a lot of them always tell me afterward, hey, I'm a huge fan, I've watched your videos. So like they kind of knew how I played, but I didn't have any data on them. So it's always like I'm on the back foot generally for the most part.
Yeah, and that's with the content creation too, putting yourself out there, which by the way, we all appreciate. By the way, there's you teach essentially on your channel, which is awesome, right? And I feel like you've come a long way from your channel starting to what it is now. Like the production's gone up, and like just your emphasis on teaching people how to do it. Even WDL stuff, you go through the whole team and you explain what it does, what it's there for, why, and it kind of gets people into the mind of a team builder that is like next level kind of thing, and it might help them kind of get past that little threshold, right? Yeah, and that's another thing too. You said players are prepared for you specifically and stuff, but back when you started, you didn't exactly have YouTubers to watch and learn, and you had to basically do it on your own with just a group of friends and stuff, right? Like, it's completely different now. I think Aaron touched on that a little bit. But like, so diving into more like the competitive mindset, like you have 10 worlds qualifications. That's I like to say that's stupid. Like that's so ridiculously consistent. What do you think separates people from like who stay elite to those who like peak once and just kind of fade? Because it happens every once in a while. Someone will like do really well and then they just can't keep it going. Like, what do you think the difference is? What separates those two?
I think it's mainly consistency of quality of play, because Pokemon is a game anyone can win in, right? Like, literally you could have like the best players in the world, they lose to anybody, because of course like Pokemon does have a lot of, you know, RNG, some variants and stuff. I'm not saying like it always affects, but of course there's always like matchups, who you'll play in tournament, like literally is going to be pretty difficult. Like, winning a tournament in general is pretty hard because of all these factors. Like, literally winning a video game tournament is super difficult because the odds are really stacked against you. So I'd say like if you have like one really big, you know, accomplishment and then like you kind of fall off afterward, it's mainly generally because like you got a really good break, like all the cards can align. And to be fair, like most tournaments, in order to do really well, you kind of have to have like 3 factors, right? You need to have really good play at the time, you need to have a really good team call, and you need to have decent RNG at least throughout the tournament, right? So I think for the most part, if you have those 3 cards aligned, you're going to have a really good tournament. But in order to have that consistently, generally it will be mainly from quality of play. So in a lot of cases, like, I'm not saying like these guys who like do well once and then don't have another result afterward fall off, but like this is a pretty competitive form. Like, a lot of players probably are also putting in a ton of work as well. Like, VGC has kind of exploded in the last couple of years, so it's just that kind of quality. You have to continue to improve, you have to continue to analyze, get better, and adapt. Otherwise you just fall behind the pack.
Oh, for sure. And like I think Aaron alluded to this a little bit as well, like just studying what people are bringing, because I feel like you have to be an expert of your own team, and that might be the reason why somebody does really well, is because that team they just gelled with and they just haven't found that that love relationship with another team since, but like just keeping up with the meta and knowing what people have. Like, and I think, like personally, I think one of the reasons why you guys do so well is because you know your own team so well, but you also know sometimes their teams better than they do because just your game knowledge and your fundamentals are just so tight. Yeah, so that might be part of it, but yeah, like it's really tough to stay consistent, right? Because like you said, there's so many. Pokemon's such a great game with like all like the chances, like 10% chance of this happening, like then bad matchups, like you're restricted versus someone else is restricted, just isn't the best matchup, right? So like I think Joey said something like this in his interview was he said like if he ran into the bad matchup for his team, he would have went like 0-3 and flamed out. But also if he runs into the good matchup where he doesn't run into what gives his team the most difficulties, like he just goes 13-0 and wins the tournament. So there is a little bit of that, like luck in the draw of who you face, and you said like yourself, like you're online and people know who you are and you don't know them. So there's so many like things about it. But when you're up against guys like that, like just getting into like the competitive play of like certain players, like you guys at the top, like when you're up against guys like Wolf and Aaron and James, I guess not James, Joey at that one tournament, like what's your mindset when you're facing those guys as opposed to like someone who you might not know? Like, is it more read heavy or do you just kind of stick to the game plan, or like where are you at with those?
I'll probably give more respect in general because in VGC, like a lot of the beginning, like when you're facing someone new or someone you don't know too much, it's like you're trying to make general safe plays to scout out like, okay, like how much do they know in general? Like how much game knowledge do they know? Like what is their skill level currently? So against Aaron and Wolf, I'll already know like, okay, I know that they're good. I know I have to respect more of their plays. I know that they can read me heavier in some situations. So like that will be accounted for, right? Whereas like in a lot of cases, I'm usually scouting to see like what my opponent's skill level is for the most part. Like we can just go straight into the game and it'll just be either really good general gameplay that you have to go for, or you'll have to make like, you know, some of those harder reads in some situations.
I think I've heard that from other players as well, saying like it's less read heavy early in tournaments, but you never know, like some of these players, they just come out of nowhere and just take the VGC scene by storm, and then you're like, it's like, man, yeah, I was there, I got wrecked by that guy. You know, that's where it all started. Like I remember when Justin Tang started out, like he won his first tournament he ever went to or something, right? And then he won another one right after or something, and it was, everybody's like, who's this guy? And you just get kind of caught in that crossfire of like, he just beats everybody. He's like, yeah, that was me, now I know who he is, I'll give him a little bit more respect, and he's never looked back. But like I noticed that like you guys choose certain tournaments to go to, like a lot of the bigger players, sometimes you don't see them at one, you see them at another. Like what do you feel like you choose, like a format, or is it like a location thing? Because you've been to Australia. I was looking at your history. Like what made you want to go to that one and not closer ones? Like what usually determines it?
Oh, so there's like quite a few factors. Like most Pokemon players will generally either always go to the big internationals. Like internationals just have more championship points, more prizing in general. So
yeah,
like you'll want to go to like those big internets, like Brazil, LIC, AK, or the EUIC, for example, which is in London. And then some cases, like it will just generally be like, okay, are you feeling like playing it? Do you have time? Because a lot of players do have jobs, of course, or schooling, so they got to work with their schedule. Then there's also like cost of like, okay, flights, hotels, all those different factors. Like for example, Orlando is technically somewhere that's really close to me because it's on the East Coast, but they're hosting Orlando this year during like the spring break period, which means flights are super absurdly expensive, for example. While as like sometimes like I can get a really cheap flight to like the West Coast and still have a good time, even though it's like more travel time in general. Like it's cheaper to go there. So in some cases, back in the day, or it's still technically a thing now, travel awards were mainly a big thing. So I would like, I didn't really travel that much. I got lucky because they changed how the travel award system worked. So I was actually able to win one to go to my first Brazil trip. And then I was able to kind of like stack on those travel awards consistently. And that's what allowed me to really go to like Oceania. And then like it was Germany that year, which was UIC. So I've been having some very fortunate experiences being able to like go to all those events. I've definitely been stacking a bit less on the events now. It's mainly just like time, location, how many of my friends are going. Do I even feel like playing? Like there's sometimes formats things, but like I don't think that really impacts me generally. It's just do I feel like going to this tournament or not? But some players do decide to skip out. Like I know a bunch of players that are skipping out because they don't like Reg H, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the beginning a lot of people were saying Reg H was just it was random. Like there was too much RNG involved or whatever it is, and they didn't like it because like I think I saw a few tweets of a few players just saying like this is crazy. Like it's just you could have the best team or like you'd play really well, but then a Sneasler comes along and just ends your tournament. So I know a few people really didn't like that, but when do you feel like you like certain formats over other? Like, do you feel like I haven't done this research yet. I just kind of thought of it and just didn't get around to it. Like, do you feel like you do better in higher power formats rather than lower power formats? Or is it kind of just, it's the same game. It's just, you know, it's just a little different, but like, do you feel like some players do better in restricted rather than just like lower power, like early formats?
Yeah, I think each format kind of has some specifics in general. I mean, mostly it's the same game, but there are like some things, like for instance, in the restricted formats, which I've historically have done the best in, is because I think I have a really good understanding. My gameplay and my game plans and how I like to play those formats generally are really solid because of the fact that it's like more focused on how to set up your restricted in order to take the victory. And I'm really good at that, I feel like, especially while compared to like a lower power format, it's kind of harder because like obviously you're not able to sweep as easily and there's a lot of bulk in general, so you kind of have to use like all your pieces instead, more of like getting chip damage and all of those factors. So I'd say like, yeah, there's definitely differences in each format. It's not like a huge major difference, but it does have some impact, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think you've kind of tailored the Torn Ogre strategy. Like it seems to be like the one you're more comfortable with. Would you say that as well, or?
I think I did have a better understanding of how Kyogre and Tornadus like to play than any other player, I think, by far in like the 2019 season and the 22 season. Although I'd say probably more 2019. 22, I didn't even bring Tornadus that much, even though it was on my team at Worlds, but I didn't know when to bring it if necessary.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Like you see guys have like a little bit of a signature when they're going to tournaments and stuff. You're like, yeah, they're running that again. They seem to like it or whatever it is. And then that seems to be the case with Kyogre and yourself. But yeah, there's just so many you can use now, and so much the power level's so high, right? It's like you can kind of pick any of them as long as the second restricted. Like just a little side note, I wasn't planning on asking this, but what was your understanding of like or feeling about Reg G? Like, because I think that a lot of people were saying like because there's only one restricted, it made it so much more difficult because you don't have that second restricted to kind of counter like at least one of them, like the bad matchup. Like did you not like Reg G, or were you just like whatever, it's just another one?
I do think one restricted is more matchup dependent than two restricted, because in one restricted or in two restricted, if you have a bad matchup, you can generally at least bring one restricted and you're kind of fine. Whereas if you have like a really bad restricted matchup in Reg G, you are kind of either always forced to bring the restricted, which still stinks, or you are forced to leave on the bench, which makes it a really uphill battle for say. I think the balance between 1 versus 2 restricted versus 0 to 1 restricted is such a big difference. So I'd say, yeah, Reg G did have probably more variance. I do think a lot of players did complain about Reg G. I personally wasn't like a big complainer of Reg G. Like for me, I thought the format was fine. I didn't think like it was great. I didn't think it was like terrible. I felt like it was an okay format. I actually enjoyed practicing for that World Championship in Reg G, which was 2024. I didn't do well at that World Championship, but I still think the format was fine. Like I don't have any big complaints about it, I'd say.
I also feel like that's a little bit of a difference between you top players as well. Going back to an older question we asked earlier, is just talking to you guys, like the better players, is the understanding of a loss. Like when you just said yourself, when you didn't do well in a tournament, it doesn't have anything to do with, or you don't think it does. That's not your go-to reason why, oh, I didn't win because something else affected it. It was more so internal. It's like, I didn't do well. Like even talking to Aaron, he was just like, we talked about his infamous insane RNG match that he lost against I think it was Kosuke or whatever it was, and his first reaction was, yeah, I was just upset that I didn't click this instead of this. Meanwhile, you know, RNG, like we would all say, like, come on, Aaron, like if you weren't on camera right now, what would you say? You know, but But no, I just feel like there's just no excuses. You guys just kind of go like, yeah, it's me, 100% it's me. And that's the mentality of just someone who's so competitive like yourself and Aaron and Wolf and all you guys, right? But like talking about Worlds a little bit too, and just like someone going into a really big tournament, like for example, you like a regional wouldn't be as big as say World, but someone who doesn't really go to tournaments would look at regionals as their Worlds in a sense, right? They're like, this is so big. When you're prepping for a big event, however you define it, what do you think is the most important? Do you think it's like meta knowledge, fundamentals, or just kind of comfortability with your team?
I'd say it's a lot of experience with the team that you plan on bringing for the most part. Because generally it will, like, I'm assuming in most cases you'll probably bring a team that is comfortable for you in most situations, and that you have the most knowledge in, that you can play better than like other people can. So that's like what I generally assume. So I'd say probably having that knowledge is pretty big, because there's obviously always going to be outliers, because Pokemon is such a big game, right? Like, for example, like regional tournaments, like I've had some experience where I won a regional tournament with literally like a team I made at the last minute and didn't have any games with. But like in general, I'd say like it can always vary. Like I don't think there's a set rule, but I'd say for the most part, like for the big tournaments, I'd say the general basis of it is I have done the best in tournaments that I have really put in a lot of work in this one team that I have crafted and had so much experience with over time. Like this World Championship, for example, I had a lot of experience with my team. Even though I didn't really play as much as like maybe other players, I felt like I played what I brought. I knew the ins and outs like way better than like a lot of other players maybe might have had with their team.
Well, and I don't think anybody was really expecting Regieleki, so that was a little bit of a cool thing about Worlds. Like people like to bring different things because you're combining the two circuits, like the closed team sheet, best of one combined with the best of three, open team sheet, things like that. So you start to see really wild combinations, and you guys research other things across the world to see what they're using. And then Worlds is so entertaining because you guys just bring such weird and interesting things that you're not used to seeing. But like going back into like just tournaments in general, and like I try not to keep the questions negative, but I do have to ask this because like it's just reality. Was there ever like a loss that you had that really kind of just changed how you play, like something that made you like rethink your approach like entirely? Was there anything like that kind of hit you, just so we can learn from it more so?
So I wouldn't say like, I think my mentality's always been generally the same. I wouldn't say there's like anything too crazy about like it's been dramatic like that, but I do remember one loss specifically that was probably like the biggest emotional roller coaster, which was when I got eliminated from 22 Worlds in top 4. Because to me, I don't think I've ever like was sitting there just super like blank, like head blank and everything. So like after the set, like I was pretty much a wreck at that point. So like I'd say that one probably hit me the hardest most, because it was like a repeat. Like a lot of the things kind of aligned with 2019, and it just kind of felt like, oh, it's just like destined to always happen. So like that probably hit me the hardest, I think. Like I literally I was getting people coming up to congratulate me, and I literally, like, one of my friends literally had to like be a bodyguard basically. Shout out to Amelia, I love that guy. Shielding me from like others, because like I was probably not in the state to really like talk as well as I could have been back then.
Well, and it's crazy too, like you hear top 4, like, and people are like, man, this guy's top 4 in the world, when there's like thousands of players and stuff, and it's almost like when you're in that moment that you lost, you're like, I don't want to hear that, because I wanted one, right? It's just, and there's so many emotions. Like for people who haven't been to tournaments, like just in general, those days are long. Like they're very long days. Like when I go, like obviously I've been only to a few, but you probably could speak to this a little bit. Like you go there at 8 in the morning, you want to get there a little early, you're registered the day before, you got your pass and stuff, but you just kind of want to get there, make sure your Switch is there, double check things. And then it's just go. There are some tournaments that you can't even eat. Like they don't give you a proper lunchtime. Has that been better lately? I know for a while that was like, dude, like there's no lunch break.
Actually, most tournaments still don't do lunch break, but it doesn't personally affect me because I am a 1 meal a day guy. So I'll only eat at dinner, but obviously it can affect other people. But for me personally, it doesn't really affect me, which is, it works out fortunately for me. But yeah, like I can definitely understand how it can be pretty hard. They have been better at like having food options at the venue generally in the most place. So like it's been easier to get food in between rounds for the most part. But yeah, it can definitely be pretty tough for like someone who's not used to it or has to eat throughout the day.
Yeah, like if we even want to call that food that they offer at these venues food, like it's so bad. Like the burgers are so bad. Like everything, like I don't know. Bring your own food, everybody. If you're listening to this, you go to a tournament, just bring a backpack, bring your own snacks, and that'd be what I'd recommend. Because like the food is it's insanely expensive, first of all, and second of all, you just don't know what you're gonna get, and the lineups are huge and stuff. So hopefully they get better at that, man. Like, is Worlds any different? Like, do they treat it any differently when it comes to the player experience, or is it just more so the production? They just need the games to keep going.
I mean, it kind of varies because, for instance, 23 Worlds was the worst run Worlds for as a player, in my opinion.
Oh wow.
It was like I had to make a huge thread on Twitter and literally said, if they treat the players like this again, I will literally stop competing at Worlds because
I remember
how
this.
bad it was.
This
it
tweet.
was really bad because if you don't know, it's August in Japan, and the humidity in Japan, it makes you feel like 100 and something degrees outside. It is really bad. And they made you stay in this huge line outside the building for like 3 hours the day before in some cases. Yeah. And then like my experience was probably like different compared to others, but like I was walking back and forth because they wouldn't let me into competitor entrance. They had a specific one for competitors. They wouldn't let me in it through some reason, and the line was too long for the regular line, and because the fact that they didn't have any English speaking people at the competitors line.
Oh,
so
no.
like I had to go back and forth, and by that point it was already like I was super tired, I was super hot, like I barely got in, and then I had to immediately start playing. It's like that's my Worlds.
But like, why wouldn't they let you in? Like, because like there's a line specifically for competitors. Like they just, there was a language barrier, or was it just like, because you think that they would imagine like they let other players in, so why wouldn't they let, like, it's just confusing to me. I just don't know, like that lineup is for competitors and you have a badge.
Yeah, they have they gave me a badge that says competitor. Yeah, I don't know. I don't try to think about it too much to this day because it was like, so bad. Yeah.
No, that's crazy, man. Because like a lot of people, like we watch regionals and stuff like that, but like you don't get the whole, like you get what they show you, right? Like whatever the camera goes on, you see, right? But like the player experience, that's why I love to do stuff like this, just kind of getting into like what actually happened behind the scenes that we don't know and stuff like that. I know did you play in that tournament that Wolf did after the tournament? I think in Japan he did like one in his hotel room or something like that, or he had like a little mini event or something like that. I think he streamed it, didn't he? I think he didn't play it.
I think that was like an event for like Japanese players generally, and it was like 2 weeks after Worlds. I don't think it was like directly after, but I will say at least that the like Hawaii wasn't as bad as 23, but there were still some downsides. But this recent World Championship, for the most part, I'd say a lot better at they handle. Like after 22 Worlds, and I made my Twitter thread, I did get into contact like a representative of the Play Pokemon team. They did reach out to me and ask what they could have potentially improved on, and I think like it's been getting better at least. So on that part, I think they actually are at least trying for the most part. Though the recent regionals, I will say, I don't know if you've seen like the Pittsburgh one where like there were lines outside the venue. And they had to delay like round one for like 30 minutes because people couldn't get in because there's like only 2 security lines. I don't know. I think it's always going to be dependent on the organizer as well, because the organizer and the venues, of course, like there's different contractors and all that. So I hope everything gets better. Like I feel like there has to be better communication between all the parties involved. But yeah, I'd say at least it's been better than previously. I'd say in Japan at least.
Well, it's a good thing they're asking you. You mentioned that they reached out to you, or you, I don't know who started contact first, if you emailed them saying, hey, what gives? And they said, yeah, let's talk.
They reached out.
Yeah, well, they probably saw your tweets and you're outspoken about it, which is good. And they're willing to at least listen to the players saying, hey, like we've got a guy like James who goes to a lot of Worlds, as we talked about 10. maybe we should know what he thinks. Are we doing this right? So that's a good sign that they're actually doing it. I think it's healthy that they're doing that. It's just whether or not they make those changes. And like you said, like, you're at the mercy. For people who don't know, like, Pokemon does not have a traveling group that goes around and does this event, then goes here, then goes here. No, they just hire an event, like an event organizer that actually is local to that area, right? And the people that run it don't usually travel with them. So you have like different like groups that set things up. And is that right? Like they just kind of whoever's local does it, the event people?
It's not really local actually anymore. It's like it's always changed. They always have changed it. So like back in the day, like Pokemon events, I think were actually kind of run by Pokemon themselves, right? Then they started like outsourcing it as like more regionals kind of popped up and the events needed to be bigger. Now I think in the US at least, currently I think there's only one company that's really involved with it now. It used to be like several like a year or two ago, but now it's like one company. I think it's Gaming Gen currently that does the US events, and then they outsource it depending on region. Like for Australia, it's a different one. I think it's I think it's ESL if I'm not mistaken. And then I know in Latam, I think they got a new one. It used to be like Copag, but I think they changed it to a different org this year. But yeah, they'll be just depending on like each region. I think only like maybe TPCI Japan or TPC Japan and Korea have tournaments run by themselves, if I'm not mistaken.
And do you feel like those go a little bit worse than, say, that the organizers that regularly do it, kind of thing, just because they do their own?
Oh, there's definitely complaints on the on their perspectives because, for instance, their qualifiers to get into the nationals and worlds starts online. It's not even
I heard about that.
Tournaments.
Wasn't Ray Rizzo complaining about that for like a couple years back?
Oh, it's always been a thing in Japan and Korea, like, or at least Japan, because Japan, in order to qualify for the nationals, you have to like play like several online qualifiers, and like Ray had like a huge problem, unfortunately, because like
his game cartridge, he changed it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like a game cartridge thing. You had to be locked into one specific game cartridge, and it was always a weird one because normally for like those qualifiers, you were allowed to use 2 different cartridges, but they changed it like that 1 year for some reason, and then like it kind of screwed him from getting his Worlds invite, unfortunately. So yeah, it was always a really weird ruling. But yeah, like even though like I don't think the system is perfect, like I do think it is probably better than like what internationally TPC has done for Japan Nats and Korea Nats. Like I still take what we currently have in the US and EU and like all those other TPCI regions, and I think those, because I like the in-person tournaments personally.
Yeah, and it's getting better, it seems, too. Like, I think just to kind of like end off like what we've been going on, we've been kind of, well, I've been kind of pushing like, it's been bad, hasn't it? But in the end, like, it's been getting better, like you would probably say, right? It's just been slowly getting better, and there's hope.
I think it's tough to say. I think it's just tough to say because I think there's some aspects that have gotten better, and then some aspects that probably have worsened. But there's always like trade-offs in general. It's just really hard because Pokemon's obviously like such a large company, and they probably have like a bunch of barriers. Like the TPCI still has to listen to TPC, and then there's like all these communications between like third parties because it's obviously outsourced contracting. So, and then like all the staff for these events generally are volunteers. So like there's a lot of layers when it comes to it. So I'd say it's just a complex system, and I feel like when you have that complex of a system, it's just always going to be buggy no matter what, like in some aspects. So I would like to see them, try to figure something out to make it more simplistic for changes to actually happen. But yeah, it's just really tough at the time.
Yeah, like for me, it's such a long day. Like I think I lost my 3rd game. Like I lose a lot of 3rd games at these tournaments. I get eliminated in day 1. But like I feel like it's just a lot of friends of mine, they want to play the whole games, right? Like even like they get the 3rd loss and then they just keep playing and stuff. But by like the 6th round, I'm cooked. Like I don't know about you, but like what does fatigue look like at these tournaments? Like when you're playing, like obviously you have a little bit more endurance now than you probably did in the beginning, and you're just kind of used to it. But like, man, I'm dead after like round 4, and that's why I don't win, right? That's what I can tell people. That's why I don't win. But what would you say to that?
No, yeah, I do think that Pokemon is exhausting, right? You have to consider so many different options. And then, of course, you have to expect adjustments. And you're playing, remember, back, well, I wouldn't say back in day, but like a couple of years ago, like it used to be 10 rounds day one. It was late 9 rounds before last year, I think, or maybe it was 2 years ago when they changed it. So now we have 8 rounds day one. But like Pokemon is a very exhausting game mentally.
Yeah.
And in general, like as the day goes on, obviously you're going to have a bit of decline in your mental judgment because of fatigue. So it's just something you probably do have to build up over time. You need to get that tolerance by probably just like simulating these tournaments by like playing a lot of games, for example. But yeah, it's just super exhaustive regardless. Like I think the only way you can really get used to it is by literally, doing it a bunch of times at that point.
Yeah, just getting used to it, because like you said, there's so much to consider every single turn. Like the game is, they've added so many mechanics to this game, and you have to know so many things. Like I brought Stonejourner to one of my other tournaments because I had this idea of Power Spot Goldango with Terra Steel Make It Rain. And just because like the Chi wasn't around and no Chiempao and Reg H and stuff like that, so I just had that idea, and it did really well. But there's so many Pokemon that you have to know nowadays. Like this one guy I was facing was like, after I was talking to him, I think he set Trick Room on. No, I set Trick Room on him, and I think he didn't have an understanding of how fast or slow Stonejourner was. He was like, "Yeah, that thing's like 20 base speed. I don't know why I didn't outspeed it." I'm like, "It's 70, and I'm max speed because I was Focus Sash." But again, it's just he's like, "I knew it had really low special defense, but like that's why I feel like draft is really helpful too for playing, because it shows you Pokemon that you don't normally see at these tournaments, because like the game knowledge is just so vast. You have to know so many different Pokemon, and somebody just pulls out something silly or whatever it is, like not silly like a Rabami, but like something that you don't see as often, and you have to know about what that thing can do and how it would play. So that's really important. But I think that's actually a decent segue into what my next question was going to be. I wanted to get into like team building, because you're kind of, I think you mentioned off camera that you kind of do mostly yourself. You kind of do your own team building on your own. You probably refer to other people, I would imagine, but you usually do it mostly on your own, you would say?
Yeah, like I definitely maybe consult like maybe like 1, 2, 3 people at most probably about a team. But yeah, like for the most part, I generally like know what I like for the most part, and I generally would say I build like most of my teams on my own and maybe get a few suggestions here or there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you also just examine the meta and what's been winning and stuff. I think that's a big part of it as well. Some people just grab a team that's done well and then they just use it themselves and whatever. But like I feel like you like to go with that and what works, and you're like, but if I add this, it might make it better. You kind of keep moving the needle, which I think is really cool. But which leads me into like your Worlds 2025 team. Like what made you want to bring Reggie Alecki instead of like the standard meta at the time?
I think one big thing is I didn't play any tournaments in Reg I before. Worlds was literally my first Reg I tournament. I qualified in during the Reg G period, so like Reg I didn't play a single tournament. But like it's funny because I do have a podcast, and I talked about like what I think was super underrated. For NIC, I was selling that I would say like Koraidon plus one of Shadow Rider or Lunala could do really well, because I really thought that the Sun Core with Shadow Rider and Lunala were really good. I guess I got it too early because it dominated the World's meta instead. But for the most part, I was talking about like a lot of these Pokemon that I thought were really good concept wise. Like I kept telling people I think Koraidon's a lot better than people give it credit for. Yeah. I thought Alecki was really, really good because it was like one of the only Pokemon that could outspeed Shadow Rider naturally without like a Photosynthesis boost or a Choice Scarf. So I was kind of shocked that like it wasn't used for the most part, but I think it's like an idea I already had in mind. Like I had tested it a bit during Reg I because I played here and there for fun on ladder, but like I was just kind of surprised like no one was really using the core. So like it had the most repetitions for me. Like I was playing pretty well. I kind of understood like what it wanted, and that's what I ended up bringing to the World Championship, because like I felt like it was a pretty good core across the board. Like I think it was a really solid team, and was just shocked that people like. I was probably one who's not afraid to like try out different things if I think they accomplishes something that like no other Pokemon can do. Like Rabami, for example, is like having that ability for like the Shield Dust and having the Focus Sash in basically one Pokemon is really cool. And for me, Regieleki was like, an electric type that helped out in some specific matchups like Ho-Oh, and Volt Switch, of course, is really good. Electroweb's just really strong into like Tailwind teams in general, and it also like just helps me in the Shadow Rider matchup because that's like a Pokemon that can be really difficult if you aren't able to control it, especially in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just looking at some of these other teams as well, there's another team that stood out to me was when you brought Agility Basculegion to Charlotte. Whatever it was.
No, that was Worlds. That was Worlds 23.
It was Worlds? Why did I think it was Charlotte? Sorry, guy. Yeah, let me see. So let me see the team. You got Torn and Didi. You have dual terrain. Okay, I have so many questions. Okay. How did you do at Worlds with this team again? I can't remember off the top of my head.
That was the Japan Worlds. So
oh no. Okay.
I was mentally exhausted and I got eliminated. Round 5, by Wolf.
Oh, by Wolf, okay. How did he feel about this team when you talked after? It was because obviously you guys keep these pretty quiet, like, but this is cooking. Like this team, like I like this a lot. Like what was like the general consensus of people that saw this team? Because you don't see dual terrain very often on a single team.
Oh, they probably were like, if they saw it and it correlated to me, they're like, yeah, this makes sense, because it was basically really similar to my 22 Worlds team, because I also had Indeedee Rillaboom on my 22 Worlds team with Torn. The Regidrago was just replacing the Kyogre. And the Basculegion I thought was like really cool endgame wise, because I thought adaptability was super strong. And then but the problem was it was pretty slow. But in a lot of cases, like I'd play kind of similar to like Xerneas Kyogre back in 2019. What I would do is like I set up a double KO situation, or like they're forced to protect against my Regidrago, stall out the Tailwind. And assuming Torn is already down by the time I gain Basculegion and they're trying to stall out Tailwind. So I need Basculegion to go fast for the last respect. So I'm like, okay, I'll run Agility instead, so I can set up, and then I can be able to outspeed the next turn and then go for last respect even if Tailwind expires. So that was kind of the idea behind it, and it worked really good in practice. It just, unfortunately, like, I wasn't able to play it well that day.
Yeah, and given the fatigue and the experience and stuff, you might have actually done a little bit differently. Your result might have been different. So, but looking at this team, this is like the most Worlds team that's ever Worlds, it looks like. It's just, it's so unique. But like there's so much speed control on this team. Like it's almost like Basculegion's middle speed tier is just kind of made up for, because you've got Icy Wind, Tailwind, Trick Room, you've got the agility on it as well. And speaking of agility, like remember Rock Polish on the what was it? The that Terrassomon, I can't remember it. DLC.
Lamore? Wait.
No, like the restricted, I can't remember it. Normal type.
Oh, Terrapagos.
I don't know, I just drew a blank there, but I ran Rock Polish for a while, and that was like, it was meta for like a handful of tournaments. And then you've got, so I'm surprised people don't use it more often. It's not a move that you see on a lot of sets, but it might just give you what you need, especially with the like this cannon like you have with Basculegion and Last Respects and Wave Crash, right? So it's just an interesting meta call. But Regidrago, what made you want to run that over, like, I know we're going back like to other tournaments, like a little older, but why was Regidrago the call over other ones? Other dragon types?
It was the move Dragon Energy. So Dragon Energy is basically Dragon Water Spout. And then what was interesting is in Gen 9, they nerfed Regieleki's Transistor. And they didn't nerf Regidrago's Dragon Maw, which increases his dragon moves. So Dragon Energy was super strong. Like it would basically either OHKO or two-shot pretty much anything in the format, even if it was resistant to it. So like, of course, the one flaw it did have was Fluttermane was pretty common and immune to it, but otherwise, like, it was really strong. And like, I would only bring Regidrago because that Dragon Energy was just so threatening into a lot. So it really kind of correlated to like how I like to play, with a really strong sweeper, and then the setup model, which was the Basculegion at the time.
Well, and that's the thing about team building too. We'll keep diving into what team building is and how you go about it. But like Regidrago, as you mentioned, just for problem solving, one of the problems is Fluttermane. Well, A, you have Tailwind, so if they read wrong. 2, you have an Arcanine that a Fluttermane really doesn't want to see. You've got the Rillaboom with AV Terra Fire, so you have a lot of answers for the one thing that gives Regidrago problems, so it actually leads it to have the success it needs. And the fact that it gets Earth Power is just stupid. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, just being, I was like, oh, I'll just go Terra Steel. Now we have Earth Power over here, we're good. No, that's cool, man. Like, Dragon Energy is like one of the cooler moves, like that. And you don't see Regidrago, its HP is stupid high, right? Was it 200 and...
It's really high.
Yeah, it's just 200, right? Because like I think all the Regis have a 200 base stat in something, right?
Yeah, it's 200 HP if I'm not mistaken. It's only got like 50 defenses if I'm not mistaken, but it will basically tank at least one attack. Like I think it can live crash pretty decently from like Chien Pao, for instance. So
Yeah.
like it's pretty bulky.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and I love seeing teams like this because it just shows, like you said, you're not afraid to try things. Like I always love, hey, have you heard about this? Have you tried this? And people are like, shut up, Jay. Like that doesn't work. That's not going to work. So like just getting to my first question that I actually had planned for this segment, which I've been skipping and talking about teams with you because it's just so much fun. Like when you start a team, what's step one? Like, do you begin with a concept or just something like, or just test something until it clicks, or like how do you usually start?
It really just depends. I think for the most part, it's based off either an idea, concept, single mon, mode. Like, there's a lot that could go on because there's a bunch of ways you could approach the team building process. Or you could be like seeing a team on ladder that performed decently, and then you try to recreate it, and then you just make adjustments as you go along. That's also pretty valid team building approach. So I think it really just depends on the situation. Like I do all of the methods there, but usually I'll just try to come up with like sets that I think could go really well together. I'll test it for a bit and then just keep making changes over time. That's generally how I approach it. I think it's pretty simple, but you just keep changing and always feel free to experiment, right? When it comes to EVs and stuff. Like for example, like myself and a bunch of friends, we like one team could have like over 100 different versions of just like minuscule changes coming down to the slightest EV adjustments to like one move change, a terror type change. So like it's just a bunch of experimentation like at the end of the day.
Well, I noticed here you have, for example, an Incineroar, which never shows up at tournaments, right? You have Roar on there. I saw so much Roar at Worlds. Like, was that just like you guys, all of you competitive players, like top players, just had like this big meeting and said, yeah, Roar is going to be it? Like I think Farigiraf had Roar. Wasn't it running a Roar on like Miraidon teams?
For a bit, it kind of really depended. It was more rare, but yeah, like Roar for Farigiraf did get second place at the UIC that year. So that was like a thing that was used. The big thing was Roar kind of became kind of a meta trend toward the before Worlds period because it won a huge Victory Road Online tournament with like a Calyx Shadow Rider Miraidon, and it did have Roar and Incineroar. And I have always been a big fan of Roar. In fact, 2019 Worlds, I actually used Roar and Incineroar on that team to get top 4. So cool. Like I already had like a lot of knowledge with Roar and Incineroar, and to me like it just really helps against opposing setup. So I'm completely used to it, and I was like, I don't really need Flare Blitz on my team because I have a Koraidon, so and Volcarona, so I didn't really need the fire move. And to me, Roar just felt like pretty natural. Like I also did test like Protect as well and Taunt, but Roar really helped out against like opposing Volcarona, some trickery matchups, and it was just very useful into Shadow Rider as well.
Well, and also like something that people might not be thinking of as well, but like I bet you guys definitely thought of it when you built it. Perish Trap, Roar does wonders. Goes through Protect, and have you been saying like, is Wolf the only one that's doing Perish Trap, or are like other people trying to like follow suit? I feel like in draft everybody is drafting it because they think it's fun, but it's so hard to pull off. Like, do you see other players use it?
Oh no, yeah, there's definitely players that use Perish a decent amount, but the thing is like it was hard, especially I think in some of the Gen 9 formats, because for instance, I think Wolf's really kind of pushed it because like he's probably like the most competent at using it, right? He has the most experience with it. He knows its kind of game plans and what it wants exactly. Like for the most part, a lot of players don't really like it because, for example, like it was fine in like the first couple of regulations, like Perish with Dozo was actually pretty common, and Wolf also brought it to NIC, but like players were using it before then. I think in the recent regulations, like Reg G, it was pretty hard to use because Calyx Shadow was such a threatening mon to Perish in a lot of cases. So, like, for instance, like Wolf, if the Shadow Riders he played were timid, he played a lot of Moss Shadow Riders, and if they were timid, I think it would have given him a lot harder of a time because that seems like a pretty tough matchup if it's timid. Because they were modest, like his Koraidon outsped, but the matchup completely flips if it's timid. So that was like a problematic one. And then in like Regulation H Part 1, like Gold and Gold is like one of the most common formats, and it's like immune to Perish Song as
Yeah.
good as Gold. So it's really hard for Perish to really function. But the fact that he was able to build a team that was able to do well into like Gold and Go, like a lot of different modes, like it still can be beaten by Gold, but it's a lot harder to beat it with Gold compared to other Perish Trap teams. So I think he's just really good at like building and knowing what he wants exactly out of a team.
And just problem solving and things like that. And it's funny, people are counting unique strategies like that with moves like Roar and stuff like that. So no, it's really cool seeing how you guys really move the needle with building and stuff. And it's nice to actually talk to people that do the building themselves instead of just like, all right, let's just use the last team that won and go from there. And unfortunately it works. That's why people do it. And this is more just a personal question. Do you feel that people feel that like team building on their own is intimidating? Like, it's just they don't know if it's going to work, so they won't. They'll just go with something that has been proven to work. Or like why do people not want to build? I've talked to a lot of people that just don't like building. They just like using other things. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just easier to take a team that's already kind of been established for the most part. But yeah, like team building is a very daunting task, and there's so many options, right? Like literally like every single minor detail could come into play. So there will be people who are just intimidated by it. I do think it's a really important skill, especially at the top level, to exactly know what you like and dislike as a player, because having those like little adjustments could be like tournament winning, for example. So I'd say like people should, no matter what, get used to team building, especially if they want to play at the top level. At the start, I don't think it's as important, because I think at that point you just want to learn the game fundamentally. But I do think you want to start learning team building, or at least getting used to the team builder, knowing these damage calcs and just testing a bunch of stuff, because that's how you end up finding like the team you exactly enjoy the most and are able to like get the most value of.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to fail, right? That's the other thing. When you try new things, it won't work out sometimes, right? So like, why not? Like, it might be a fear of failure thing, I don't know, but like maybe it's just the game knowledge is just really intimidating. We talked about how vast it is, and like the learning curve, it takes a while, but just watch and play. Like content creators like yourself, you really help kind of get people into that confidence of building, because you show them the why rather than just here's a team and here's how to play the team. They understand how the game works mechanically. But like, I'll skip the spicy tech, whatever it is. We've been talking about this for a while. I was gonna ask you about like what's the spicy tech, but agility, basket legion, there's the spice. So would you say that team building just for you has just kind of like, compare it to like say 2017, 2019, like to what it is now? Like the meta moves so quickly now. Like how is it different? How is team building different now than when it was? Is it like power creep is completely different now, or
power creep, mechanics, and open team sheet I think kind of have contributed a lot? For example, when it comes to mechanics, like Dynamax is like teams are going to look a lot different than what they were in Terrestrialization. Terrestrialization, you can actually see like, for instance, like a lot like normally on a well-balanced team you want to have a good mixture of typings. Kind of in this generation, that rule can be completely invalidated, because for instance you could see like 2 or even 3 fire mods on the same team and it'll still work, because you can have Terrestrialization to get out of that situation. So in a lot of cases where like some rules might just change over time, that's a factor. I think also meta adaptation, kind of because like if you go on the open team sheet ladder, your team is exposed for literally like anyone to grab a pace. While as like back in the day, you would generally like play closed team sheet. It would be easier to just like play on ladder, and you don't have to reveal all your text. So not anyone would just have full access to your team. Maybe they'd have the 6 mons and whatever like little information they were able to get out of it. But for the most part, like I think that kind of like just sped up the process, because now teams kind of can get either outdated or countered really quickly, because it just shifts a lot, because now we can grab these teams very instantly. So I think that's a pretty big one that's kind of helped out over time. So it's kind of just evolved, I think, into this big process where like you can spend a lot of time, and in some cases like it would just shift really quickly. And I think a lot of team building as well is like, if you do have like one of those older teams that you've been working on and the meta shifts, you kind of have to really make sure that you are able to adapt and make those small changes to make it relevant again. which I think Aaron talked about, actually, if I'm not mistaken, on your last podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably. That was a long conversation we had, and this one's going pretty good too. And I appreciate you guys sticking around and just having a chat, because like I'm having a great time. And if you guys are listening right now and enjoying this, go when you're done with this, go click and like James's channel and stuff and his podcast, just because it's just so nice getting into the mind of another player and stuff as well. But getting it, so I guess it's a little bit of a transition from team building to draft league. Like your creativity and like creative play, like it translates to draft league really well. Like I think one of my favorite plays, I was trying to find a way to like not awkwardly throw this into this interview, because I just wanted to talk about it because it's one of my favorite plays of all time, is you burned your own flutter mane to dodge a spore. Like that was you, right? And I think it was Charlotte. That's probably where I got Charlotte from, that other team that I thought but it was your world's team. But like in draft, like I feel like those are the plays that give people success in draft. Like what is the, when you're stepping into draft compared to like your VGC, like where's the connection? Like I feel like there is a connection. So like what is the difference, like the big difference between draft and say VGC play?
I think it's basically how you're approaching the team building process a lot, because in draft, you're specifically building a team with your opponent's like whatever roster they have in mind, and you're specifically designing to beat that exact roster instead of like building a fundamentally good team that's good into like a bunch of different matchups. And that can be tough because there's obviously a lot of different possibilities, and of course everyone has a different like look at the game. So like what you expect them to bring could be completely different from what they end up bringing. So I mean, that's like a huge difference in draft compared to VGC. Gameplay wise, like you generally, it depends, I guess, depending on the draft league rules. But since we're doing like closed team sheet best of 3, for example, like you have to make sure that you're preparing for the worst possibilities every single round, because you never know what they have, right? It could be like a bunch of different possibilities, and that can really screw up. It's like different from like what we currently play with the open team sheet, kind of similar to like how we played in the past with closed team sheet best of 3, which I personally enjoy. But there's like a lot of possibilities, and it's kind of just like hedging your bets on like what they're more likely to have in your perspective, I think.
Well, and I think, yeah, fact finding, like you said, the biggest thing probably being closed team sheet in this format, and just kind of finding out, learning about the team as you go, right? You don't want to find out too late and lose the set, but being best of 3 is really nice. But like I think week 5, I think it was Wolf's first loss against Aaron. I think the Wolf won game 1, and I remember saying after the game, I went, he gave up a lot of information that game. Like I basically feel like Wolf's whole team was kind of exposed the way he wanted to play it. Like certain items or certain moves or whatever it is, you're like, all right, I think I know what this team does. And then Aaron ended up winning game 2 and ended up beating him game 3. And I'm just like, I felt like Aaron, just by finding out so much information in that game 1 and just like not hiding anything on Wolf's side, it just kind of gave him an advantage. Like, so that you would say that's another big point as well, just like learning, and like Frisk, for example, being an ability, and just like certain play, like protect when you might have attacked, just to kind of see what's he gonna do here. Because like, do you feel like if you lose a game 1 going into a game 2 and you're like, man, I didn't learn anything about this team, this is like, it's more awkward going into game 2 and 3?
Yeah, definitely, because the information game is really huge in close team sheet. It's one of the things I really do enjoy about like close team sheet is like how to leverage the information and how to like adjust over time with the like little bit of information that you do currently have. So I think getting information is really important to game 1. Like it's fine to lose a game 1. Obviously, like in draft, we have like differentials, right, that could matter for playoffs, so it's a bit more difficult, I suppose. But in general, like being able to like secure the victory like at the cost of one of the losses, whether it's in game 1 or game 2, I think can really lead to like a really huge victory for game 3. So I would do this quite a bit in close team sheet back in the day, where like I would sacrifice maybe a game just so I a long-term vision of how I want to play the game work out or not work out. So like I do think that's actually another annoying thing about draft, is because like in draft you are actually you can't forfeit the game, or like a game 1 you have to play it out, which is a bit unfortunate in some cases, because sometimes you want to like not reveal your back Pokemon if you think the game is doomed, for example. But like you just have to really leverage the information game between, okay, what can I get out of them versus the info I can get or what info am I giving away? So I think it really just depends though on the situation. You could definitely win games, of course, even with giving out the information, but it can be a bit tough sometimes for sure. And I think that's like why Wolves draft is really good and really threatening, is because even though it looks awkward on paper, it doesn't have like that main superstar like Annihilate or Chaladon or Golden Go. Like the fact that he is able to have like this huge information game at the start is like really something, because he's able to long-term vision through the entire set like quicker than you would be able to, because you don't know what he has, for example.
Well, 3 Frisk users definitely help with that for sure. You've got one, you just don't use it. Yeah. I stopped predicting you're gonna bring Furret. I'm just like, he's just not gonna bring it. Like, did you bring it at all? I feel like it might have been on a team and you just didn't use it. Is that right? Or remember we're in week 6, going into week 6.
It is the team member that I haven't brought to this point yet for the first 5 weeks. I'm not sure if I will be bringing it yet, but I do think that it does have potential to come in one of the upcoming weeks. So
okay, little teaser.
On the situation. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, like, and you mentioned, like, I feel like your team and, like, well, obviously Wolf being near the top and you're in second place as of right now. Congratulations, by the way, 4-1 against this field is really good. And you just felt comfortable. Like, you just look like you've played comfortable throughout the season. You kind of get a grasp on your team and how it plays. And you kind of mentioned this as well. Your team doesn't exactly have, like, modes, you know? Like, your team has just a bunch of good things and tools, right? And I feel like that's why his team has done well, too, rather than just that rain mode, that sun mode, or like that you didn't get mouse hold, I see, but that would have been a little bit more telegraphed if you had that. But you do have other ways of doing it, but your team is just very unique in that sense. Do you feel like the versatility in team building and just kind of keeping things not as telegraphed has helped you this season with your success?
I think it kind of depends, because mainly this has been like Wolf's league is specifically, his points are like, it's way more restricted than like other draft leagues I've heard. So you kind of are forced, you have to force to pick more interesting options. And I think those like mid-tier to lower tiers really become more impactful than the higher tiers because of those factors. So like, obviously I'm not going to have like the strong Dozo mode or the slacking Galarian Wheezing mode or like the Archaladon Rain mode, but I do think it does make it harder to build, but it does make it trickier for my opponent to anticipate what I exactly want to do for the most part. So I think it does have like some benefits. Like at the end of the day, I think my draft, like I think it's fine because of the fact that it is able to really capitalize on a bunch of Pokemon that have a lot of different possibilities. And I think the value for the point system, like all the mods that I brought were pretty much higher value than they were probably worth because of all the different sets I can leverage. So I think it's been doing pretty well in that. It does make it again hard to build. Like for instance, like I'm currently building for week 7 at the moment, and let me just say, trying to figure out something specifically where I could maybe, like, if I was one of the other players, I could lean in towards the other modes a bit easier is like definitely a bit more troubling in the team building process. But I think once I get into the gameplay, like it's fine for the most part. Like once I figure out like, okay, I want to accomplish this with this mon, then it generally works out.
Well, and I noticed here your week 7 match is actually Aaron, so that kind of sucks to draw such a strong player, especially in draft. He's had success in draft in the past. So like not only is he a strong VGC player, but a strong draft player, because there's a little bit of a difference we've talked about. But yeah, that really sucks. Like it's whenever I get a schedule in draft, I look at my first week, see who I'm playing, and then I always look at my last week. I'm like, who do I have to beat to like have my season on the line? You know, it's just like sometimes it's like, okay, like they're kind of newer, it's not too bad, and sometimes you're like this juggernaut of a player and you're just like, oh, I need to secure my playoffs before week 7. That sucks. But no, that sucks. I'm looking forward to it. Watching you guys play has just been fantastic. So we talked about your team a little bit right now, and not one of the Pokemon, but a few of the Pokemon I've really enjoyed you using, which I haven't really thought you were going to use, which has been surprising. The Revavroom, like, was that like, I just need a steel type kind of thing? Or was it more like, I think this thing has potential? Because I feel like you've been using it a few weeks where it's just carried you.
Yeah, one, I want to shout out my good friend NJ11, who is the one who convinced me to take River Room. But yeah, it was kind of like the idea of we wanted a steel type because my draft did lack steel types, and I also did lack poison types, which matters for like Wolf's Glamour, for example. And River Room kind of fit that bill. But it also, like, when I looked at it, I didn't realize like its stats are actually pretty good, right? Like, it has pretty high attack, decent speed. It's got actually pretty decent coverage as well. Like, it does actually have a lot of value for, I think, what it's worth point wise. So yeah, like, it's able to do work. And yeah, like, against some matchups, it's able to do well. Like against Uzi's team, for example, like it was able to blow up, like it was able to one shot like a lot of his things for the most part, assuming his gunk shot and high horsepower. So it was a really good week there. And then like against Necra, who I didn't bring it against, I could have, but it definitely could have put it in work because I knew she was probably going to bring the fairies, and it definitely could have put in work, especially if I wanted to bring it as an adjustment. But it was more of a backup mod in that game scenario specifically.
Well, the Terra Steel on that Clefable, that would have been very difficult for it to deal with.
I was so close to having high horsepower on my River Room instead of, I think it was either Protect or Poison Jab I had.
Yeah. No, it's picking the movesets just to kind of counter some things, and you're like, how would they counter me? And then how would I counter their counter? And how would they counter my counter of their counter? You know, it's just like the mindset of prepping for draft. It's so neat. But like, man, like that, I think I saw your reaction when she went for like the Calm Mind with the Clefable, and then she coached it, and you're like, oh, okay. And then she went for like a Decorate, and you're like, uh-oh. and then I think, oh, you got the freeze, right? I think you got the Blizzard freeze on Yakrami. Ah.
So I will say the RNG kind of swung both ways, where I missed 2 gunk shots.
Yeah.
The second one was way more important, I think, because I was just Oko the Alcremie, and then there's no Decorate, and then I think I pretty much snowball from there.
Yeah.
But missing the first one also hurt because the Clefable would have been super low, so it wouldn't have been able to sweep as well. So it kind of did balance out a bit of luck. I mean, I did get fortunate to stay frozen because the Alcremie had Psych Up, so it could have gotten really dangerous. Yeah, but yeah, like someone in my comments actually told me about the mathematical odds of that game, and actually said that like the Blizzard freeze was lucky, but generally the double missing gunk shot was actually really, really unlucky, to where it kind of actually really balanced it out. Like actual, there's mathematical odds that they ran, and it actually was balanced luck, which is surprising.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, well, that's also why we play best of 3 as well, right? Is because like if that does happen, then you still have another game to kind of take care of business and stuff as well. But when you see setup strats like that, your first reaction is like, it's almost like you have to change mindsets, because you're just like, I don't know anything. You're looking at your 2 versus their 2. You know your back row. You know what they could have in the back. Your potential sets you've got in your mind, which might be good standard sets. And then you see a Calm Mind, and you're like, okay, that changes things. And now you have to like problem solve. And then you see the coaching. You're like, do I have anything for this? Like, I didn't bring Haze. I didn't bring anything. It's like, that thing needs to go down now, which is why Protect is so nice on moves like that, or on Pokemon like that, because they just, it changes your mindset, where you're just like, I need that thing gone now. And you're sitting there with the setup, you're just like, they think this thing needs to be gone now. So I'm going to gain maybe a switch or something like that and get something on the field for positioning. So it's real. I love draft so much. Like, and like, would you say that like you like draft, like in general? I know some people play it because it's just something that's not stale. Say for example, you're just, VGC is kind of boring right now. Or is it just like you genuinely like enjoy playing draft, and you're just, because you've only played a few, right?
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Like that Cosmic Power from Necro was, I was like, wow, that was like something I was not anticipating. Because like the thing about that is like, if you're giving my Ninetales several turns to click Blizzard, I feel like that is like something you're really risking. So I thought that was neat. But like draft is just interesting in general. Yeah, I've only played 3 draft leagues, including this one in total. Yeah. So my first draft league was the WBE, and it's actually funny because the WBE that year was both a singles and a doubles league, and most people expect me to play in the doubles league, but I actually joined the singles league.
Okay. And how did you find that?
I found it really fun because I got to play like against, well, actually no, I didn't get to play against Joey that league, unfortunately. No, I didn't get to play against Joey that league. I did play Uzi though, which was really funny. I played Uzi in that league, and yeah, I think I did win that one too.
Oh, okay.
But I think It was really fun and something unique. I tried it because I really want to try something different. Like there's a doubles draft league, but I thought, you know what, let me try the singles draft league because they were looking for creators for the singles draft league because everyone wanted to try the doubles draft league. And I unfortunately couldn't play both, but it was really fun. I finished third in that league actually, which was really fun. And it was like I was probably like the underdog because I'm not a singles player, right? So that was really exciting. Then Joey hit me up for SPL, which was my first ever VGC draft league, and I had a lot of fun there. Like I got to play a lot of great creators and only lost to Joey twice. Like he was the only man who beat me in that league in total.
That top 8, yeah.
No, yeah, and then this league has been really fun, especially because it's only 8 competitors in general, and all the competitors are superstars in their own way. Like even if they're not like a VGC superstar, they are a huge draft league experience. And I also think the draft players can be tougher at times because they have more experience on like building the teams, which I think can be really scary about the techs. So it's been a really big blast. Like I would call myself like a good draft league player or anything, but it has been like a really fun experience so far.
Yeah, like draft is just great. Like it's so much different than just the VGC circuit and stuff, and it just allows you to learn more about the game and stuff. Like just watching some of the text that like Joey pulls out and stuff like that, you're like, I never would have thought of that. And you see some of them translate to VGC as well. You see kind of these new strategies and stuff come out and stuff, and it might stem from draft league. So if anybody watching this hasn't started playing draft league, I don't know why you're not. You're missing out big time. And James says he loves it too, so which means it must be great. So SPL, you finished top 8, and dude, there were 20 teams in that league. That's crazy. Like the standings and I guess in that situation it would kind of suck because like there might be like part of the field that you're like, oh, I want to play this person. And well, like you drew Joey twice, right? Like one in the regular season, then one in the playoffs, but there was a good chance you weren't going to face him at all.
Oh, it's actually funny because I was first seed in SPL and I got to choose my opponent, and I'm like, run it back, Joey.
Wait, what?
I did it.
You got to choose your opponent?
Yeah, so it was top 12 made playoffs in SPL, and then like the bottom 18, like the top 4 secure a bye. So, and then afterward, like the bottom 8 teams would play for like the top 8 slot. So, and then after that happened, like I got to pick my opponent out of the bottom 4 pool, and then the second seed, which I think was Mount at the time, got to pick the opponent after me. Third seed got to pick their opponent, and then fourth has whoever's remaining. So I decided to just pick Joey, for a run back because I thought it'd be really fun and for the content, but also B, like if I'm losing, I actually had to go to Portugal that like for a week. So like it was pretty much likely I would have to hold up the league if that was the case. So like if I lost, and that's fine. I don't have to rush anything. But if I beat him, I'm like, hey, I got my revenge. Let's go.
Well, that just speaks to your competitiveness as well, right? Like I think a lot of people would have it's like they want that redemption where you're just like, he bested me, I want to beat him, and that way it shows that I truly won. Because if you dodge him in the playoffs and someone else beats him and you end up winning, the guy would sit there and be like, I would have beaten you if I faced you and stuff. So I'm actually really glad you picked the more difficult matchup rather than the easier one, because I know in sports a big narrative near the end of a season, like you have like a first place team or whatever it is, or like a second place team that has, you go into your last game of the season, you're like, okay, if we win this one, we face this team. If we lose this one, we face this team. We get to choose who we face. I feel like that never works out when somebody chooses the easier road, because it's like, you chose this and you lost, and it just, I feel like it's just one of those things that just happens. Like, it's not like, there's nothing to it where it's like, you literally did something. It's just more so just so happens, like bad karma, I guess, or something. You thought you were going to beat the bad team, but they beat you, or whatever it is. So I'm glad you went with a more difficult one, but your team in that one, like just to kind of compare it to a little bit of this one, you went with Dozo, Tatsugiri, Glamora, Fletchender, Meowscarada, you ended up swapping out for Shaman, Tauros Blaze, you ended up swapping out for Zapdos, Galar, Golden Go, Enamorous Incarnate, which I was upset you dropped because I really liked it, but Screamtail was good for you, right, when you grabbed it? Yep. And Tinglu, which you didn't use much, did you, throughout the season?
No, I did use Tinglu a lot, actually.
Did you? Okay, maybe it might have been the first week or something like that. The first couple weeks you didn't, and it came in. Because I was looking at your roster, I'm like, did he pick up Tinglu, but you just didn't use it for like the first 2 weeks or something? Or
I know I at least used it for the last 3 weeks of the regular season. I think I brought it once or twice in the first couple weeks, but it was definitely I think I might have left that one on the bench more compared to the others. I know I didn't bring it against Joe, I'm pretty sure. I didn't bring it against Joey either, and I don't think I needed it in my first one because Dozo kind of won my first week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, how many fishers did you hit? Did you go for it at all, or are you just not that kind of player?
Oh, it's actually funny. I think I brought, did I bring Fisher? I don't think I brought Fisher at all, actually. Or I might have brought it. I might have had it and just never clicked it. Or even brought Dozo at that point. But in general, I did not bring Fisher at all. It's actually funny because I got hit by Fisher myself in the last week of that league against Shuckle King. So he brought Fisher Lando against me. And like he went for like turn 1 and got it. And I'm like, okay. 1
for 1. Well, he's gonna miss his next 2 for sure, statistically speaking. Yes.
I mean, I still won that game, fortunately, somehow, but like that was definitely something I was not anticipating. But yeah, no, I thought that team was very broken for what it was.
Well, it's funny, like talking about Fisher a little bit, like in my experience with Fisher, I think the first time Tinglu was legal in a draft league, it was I think my week 1 opponent had it, or week 2. And I was just like, I'm not getting Fisher. This is not happening. So I went like Terra Flying on almost everything. And I think my answer for Tinglu was I had Spiritomb with like Pain Split and Terra Flying. So, and I went with Will-O-Wisp. So I'm like, full HP against full HP, I Pain Split you, I do like 25% of your health. Like right off the bat, because Spiritomb has such a low HP stat. And then I think it was like Leech Seed, Terra Flying, Terra Blast on, what was it? Appleton. Or whatever it is. Like it was just the whole thing was like I'm not getting fissured, so it's just draft be draft, you know. But let me see. So coming into SPL, you did finish top 8 and you lost to Joey, unfortunately, but that was so fun. I feel like that was less popular than say this one or WBE, but like that was a fun season, man. Like I really enjoyed watching all those players. Like I think you had Mount. I didn't know who Mount was before that season. Cloverbells wasn't really in anything until that as well. So like you saw like a handful of creators that really got involved, which was awesome. Would you do another one of these?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the timing. Unfortunately, like SPL was pretty bad timing for like everyone competing in that league because it was mostly like VGC players, and like Joey like arranged it, and then like everyone had to go to EUIC, and then like there were regionals afterward, and then like we had so many delays in SPL. So yeah, like I was really busy. It's funny with the Portugal thing. I said to Joey, as I said before, like if I'm losing, I'm partying in Portugal, my guy. So I'm good with that. But no, I do really enjoy these. It is a pretty big time commitment though, because it's like really hard for me to schedule. So
well, it's almost 2 months, right?
Yeah, like it's like 2 months of constant scheduling. Like when Wolf hit me up for this after Worlds, I was pretty happy with the timing part because I didn't plan on going to a single tournament after Worlds at this point. So like it just worked out timing wise. Like it was way better for me personally. And like everyone on the league has pretty much been really good with scheduling. So like, and of course it's only 8 players compared to like 20 players trying to play
like
in 1 week. So that's been a pretty big one. Like the most difficult one for me was probably just Uzi because of like time differences, because he lives in Australia where everyone else was like US or like West Coast or East Coast pretty much. I didn't have to worry about time differences. So
yeah,
no,
Uzi
like
just by himself.
I think I would definitely do this again. It's not like something I think I want to do like, oh, I want to like right after this I'm going to play another one, right? Like I think I need a break like every once in a while. Also, like I think I kind of stress myself out during the draft stages personally, because I do think it's like at times can be really overwhelming to like build like out of all these options and then play the match. So yeah, for the most part, like I enjoy these a lot, but I think I need them in doses at a time, kind of like a VGC tournament. I need these like once in a while, not like 3 back to back, you know?
I think it's a nice treat, you know, like it's like you enjoy it, but if you have it too much, it'll lose its, you know, it'll lose its fun part, you know, funness or whatever it is. No, but that's awesome. It's been such a cool project to just kind of like watch from the outside, like me covering the league and stuff like that. But I want to round things out with like more of a personal note and stuff. Like I have done a little bit of research as well, kind of watching other things, like other interviews you've been in. You mentioned you have like a musical background, like an actual like playing instruments musical background. Like, do you still play anything, or like, are you just, it's just something you used to do?
No, I'd say it's probably something I used to do. I don't really have any musical relationships anymore in general. Like,
Ooh.
it's just tough when
You're so busy, yeah.
Yeah, like when you're full time at this point, like it's hard to really commit. I did think about picking up the piano again, or maybe a guitar as a hobby, but like it's just been so hard to get started because like when I commit to something, I really need to commit to something, or I know it's just gonna be like, okay, first 2-3 weeks, and then it's just like dropped for like 6 months. Like I do that a lot, especially with like casual gaming, because I'll pick up a game, play it for like a little bit, and then like I'll get super busy, and then I'll have to drop it for like a long time. So I don't really want to commit to anything unless I know I can commit to it. So that's why. But yeah, I play like 10 instruments in the combination of my middle high school days because I was in the band. I'd be switching instruments constantly depending on the situation. And then I was also in my school's glee club. So like I was learning piano, guitar, ukulele at the same time. So yeah, like it was pretty busy then. And also like my high school was more music central based because we had a pretty good performing arts program. Like we even got funding for a high school to get a separate like building for the performance arts specifically. Like that's actually like really impressive. We've also won like several championships as well.
Well, that's awesome. Like that's I'm glad you mentioned that a bit too, because like being able to play multiple instruments is so impressive, especially like I think you mentioned before that you went from like clarinet to sax and stuff like that. That's a pretty simple transition between the two. Yeah, it's slightly different, but the transition's easier. But then you said you went to trumpet, and I'm like, I don't even know, man. Like
I didn't do trumpet. I
thought you mentioned that you tried it or something like that. Maybe you didn't play for very long or something.
No, I did like recorder to flute to clarinet to saxophone, while also doing piano, guitar, ukulele. And I also did have to do some percussion stuff at times, but yeah.
Well, piano's percussion technically, for people that don't know. But no, that's really cool. Like, is there an instrument, like if I handed you one of your choice, would you be able to at least hack it or play something?
I don't even know if I can anymore. It's been.
You remember your G chord and guitar, right? Your G chord, your home chord.
Like I could maybe remember like maybe a song or two, barely, but like it's been over 10 years since I think I've touched an instrument realistically.
Yeah, well, if you ever found time again, I'd recommend that you just have a guitar sitting on the wall, get one that just mounts on the wall, and every once in a while you just pick it up. Like I picked mine up just before this interview just because I just felt like picking it up, and it's just something that you always hold on to. But so I know this is like a horrible transition, but like misconceptions. I don't know why I had this order. That's horrible. Sorry, everybody. But so I guess it's personal side, the human side of it. So when it comes to like, you've been playing for VGC for so long, and you've just been kind of in it all. Like, what's one misconception that people might have about top VGC players? Because you know so many of them. Like what do you, and you've talked to people like me and stuff who are on the outside looking in, like what's like one misconception that people would have about you guys that we might not know, or we might have actually, sorry.
I don't know. I think I could think of one really well-known example, I think, but it doesn't have to do with me specifically. I think it can be dubbed as the Wolf effect, where I think when you watch a stream game and someone is playing against Wolf, like I feel like a lot of them, it could be a stream effect as well, but like I think that they are actually in an okay spot, but then they decide or they misplay a bunch afterward. And I feel like people kind of put us up to like this higher standard, and sure, like we know the game better, but it's not like that different, I think, compared to like generally. Like there might be some situations where two high level players playing against each other, it might look a bit different, but for the most part, like I think a lot of players kind of overestimate like the top players specifically, or idolize maybe too much. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we can make mistakes, we can make errors, and like Pokemon, I think, can be a very positional game at times, where I think they kind of underestimate themselves, or they end up just misplaying a bunch because they're scared of like what we're gonna do, or like try to overread something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Have a generally safe play for the most part. So I think I noticed this a lot on stream, especially like watching a bunch of players do it, especially where they overcomplicate something, although they had like a pretty general safe play, I'd say.
Yeah, like go read heavy into a good player and think, well, they know this and what I know. It's like, but meanwhile, there's this safe play that they understand. They know what's in the back, you don't. And no, that's a good point, actually. Like, because like, yeah, like you're playing like, and we talked about this earlier. You like when you guys are playing someone in round 1 versus say round 11 or something like that, or like day 2, whatever it is, top 16 or something like that, right? You play a little bit differently based on who you're playing, but yeah, like you guys are just people in the end, right? Just the game doesn't change. Just put yourself in a good position, set up your end game, and move on from there. But I guess my last question I would have for you before I kind of got into like the lightning round questions, with just like those random questions that are just fun. After a decade of competing, or even longer, as we talked about, what's like the biggest life lesson that Pokemon's kind of taught you, just being in the community and playing?
Let's see. I'd probably say that if you want something, you just got to do it at the end of the day, because if you don't try something, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, especially like I remember I get these like messages, or when I did coaching, it's like there were a lot of people who were saying that they really want to get good before they went to a tournament, but in most cases, like you probably get better by just going to a tournament and not caring about your results. Like, let's be real. Like, at the end of the day, like you should just go to tournaments. You shouldn't, if you want to do something, you just go for it. Like, I think that's a pretty big one. I'd say the biggest one is like you should be okay with taking risks. I think I ended up taking a lot of risks in my career for the most part, and they ended up paying off pretty well. Like, obviously, like I'm not saying go to the casino, put all your money on red. Like, I'm not saying that, but there are calculated risks, right? Like, there are ones you can kind of control, so it's more in your favor. And, you know, it can come down to like plays that you make in tournament, to like decisions you make, or like stuff like that. But in general, I think life is about taking calculated risks, because if you always play it safe, you generally will just stay like below average for the most part. So I'd say, like, if you want to do something, take the risk, just go ahead and just do it, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think what you started that off with was like, just if you're like, oh, I'm not good enough to go to a tournament, that's how you get good. You go to tournaments. And we talked about the physical aspect, like the longevity, the mental game, things like that at tournaments. Those are all skills you can't learn unless you go, right? So like, yeah, just I'm with James on this one, guys. Just go. Like, don't be afraid. Same thing with team building. I would probably speak more to that. Don't be afraid to team build. Don't be afraid to fall, for your team not to work. Like, I bet James could probably talk for hours here about teams that did not work out.
But let me just say, I was a casual, like most people who are probably listening. Like, literally the first tournament I tried to go to and play, which because of the lottery system, I didn't get chosen, so I wasn't able to play. I would have brought a Wobbuffet, and let me just say, that would not have been a good result. I will tell you, I would have probably been 0-1 single elimination, because that was single elimination back then. There were a lot of teams that I did not do well. There's so much information on the internet that about VGC, you could easily improve very quickly compared to how I was, and I somehow ended up resulting in one of a few things that players have accomplished to this day. So, like, at the end of the day, you guys have skill. Like, everyone has to start from somewhere. Like, I did say in that example, like earlier, about like people overestimate stuff. Like, I still will give credit to like the players, right? Like, they still did put in a lot of work. They know more about position stuff. Like, Wolf is still a great player at the end of the day. I do think that like he's not like some unbeatable like god or anything, but like in the most part, like, he has worked really hard. He obviously knows what to do in situations and definitely understands the game maybe a bit better, but like anyone is beatable. So like, if you want to start playing competitive Pokemon, just do it. Like, just start learning, just start attending tournaments, and who knows, maybe you could be at the top, because like I was one of those kids who had no expectations, and here I am now.
Well, yeah, you won't know unless you try. That's probably the biggest thing to take out of that. You won't know unless you try. So try it. We have all the resources in the world to give it a shot. So give it a shot. Just before I get into the lightning round, like a friend of mine actually drew you in round 1 in Toronto, and last year, I think. And I remember we were standing, you know, a group of friends, you go to a tournament, you're all looking at that stupid RK9 app, whatever it is, that one that you don't know why it exists, you just want it to die. I hate that app so much. But like we were looking at it, and we were like, oh, I'm facing this person, table this, and he says, I drew James Baek, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like best of luck. And you know what his reaction was? And I think this is a very good mentality to have. He says, he looked at it, he's like, yes, I'm gonna go beat him, and I'm gonna be able to move on and get further from that win. He didn't end up beating you, but it was just the mentality going into that it was a challenge that he's like, let's do this, rather than running away from it or being scared, or like, you know what I mean? And so I really appreciate that. He's actually a good friend of mine, so, and he's probably listening right now. Yeah, you beat him pretty badly though, when which I make fun of him for all the time. Like, you lost to James Baek, you suck.
and if he's playing, and if he's still playing, I honestly think if he keeps up that mentality, I think he can definitely make it far, man. I think that is a great mentality to have.
Well, he actually day 2'd in Los Angeles, and he did really well. He had this insane Terrapagos team. Yeah, like he did really well. You could probably look him up, but I won't mention his name just out of the sake of his like, just in case he doesn't want me to. We didn't talk about this, but no, he's been grinding. He's been grinding, and he's got that, like, I can beat anyone, which is fantastic. I think that's great. He's not scared of a matchup. But anyway, so be like him, this mystery person that might not exist, because I'm not mentioning who he is, everybody. But these lightning round questions. So this is one of my favorite parts, because it really gets, they're meant to be quick answers, but if you don't want to answer quickly, don't worry about it. But, you know, some of them I can see you maybe answering, but we'll kind of finish up here. I appreciate all the time you've given me. I know you gave me more. It's been a kind of a natural flowing conversation. So I hope you're kind of happy with how this has gone so far, and everybody listening has enjoyed it as well. But as for the lightning round, so I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions. People who don't know this, what we usually do is, he doesn't know these. I kind of gave him a few of the questions beforehand, but he knows nothing about these. So let's see if we can get some funny answers. What is the favorite Pokemon that you've ever used? Not your favorite Pokemon, but what's the one that you've ever used that's the most favorite, and why?
In tournament?
Yeah, just in a tournament.
It would be, I think I'd have to say, Sock at the 2014 World Championship.
That's cool. Why?
It was the Mon that was the Kangaskhan counter. Yeah. And the way I qualified for the World Championship was game 3 in the elimination set, because it was a last chance qualifier. It was like, in order to get to a World Championship, if you didn't have an invite, you can play this tournament single elimination. And if you make it through to the final 4, you get the Worlds invite and can play at Worlds. Mm-hmm. I literally went for a close combat straight into the Kangaskhan, which was a huge risk because there was a Talonflame, and I got the read right, Oko to Kang, and was able to qualify for Worlds after that.
And that's probably one of your favorite turns ever as well, right? Because it was high risk, high reward, and you got it. So that's awesome. What's the most annoying Pokemon to prep against, whether or not it's VGC or draft in general?
I don't know if I could really say draft, because I probably have different answers for both, because I only have like 2 draft leagues, so I can't
do VGC
really say.
Then. Like, when you're preparing, building a team, like, what's the most annoying Pokemon? Like, I need an answer for this. Like,
I think it's probably either a Moongus or Smeargle. Like, it's just the same reason, because of Spore.
Yeah, so just the Spore and stuff, rather than a Pokemon, more of a mechanic, I guess. What's one tournament that you'd relive if you could?
It would relive as in redo again with changes that I could do, or
however you want to answer it. Just, it could have been just like, it was so much fun, I'd love to do it again, or if it was just, I want to redo it, or like, I'll let you decide.
I would probably say, even though like the ending was bittersweet for me, I'd still want to do 2022 Worlds again, because I was able to get top 4, and then my good friend Eduardo Cunha was able to win that tournament. So I'd still relive that Worlds any single day.
Well, and it would have been cool if you had a chance. Were you on the side of the bracket with him? Like, if you won your top...
I would have played him in finals if I had won top 4.
Yeah, that would have been so cool, because you said you're friends, right? What's a player who always keeps you on your toes?
It always keeps me on my toes. That's... I guess it would probably be James Evans, because we've played the most in tournaments in general in the recent years. Like, when I play against Wolf, it could be either I'm playing really good or I could be playing really bad. I think against James Evans, I'm generally playing pretty well for the most part, and we played several times, I think, throughout like Gen 9 and just VGC in general. He's probably my most played opponent probably as of history right now.
Which is so odd because when I was talking to Aaron, like he said, I asked him kind of along the lines of the same question, like who does he like facing or something like that at tournaments, and he was just like, it's so unlikely you'll face someone specific because the field is so large, right? But if you're facing James Evans, it's probably near the end of a tournament and stuff. That's actually really cool because you kind of look at each other and you know what you're looking at across the across the table. You're like, yeah, we've been here before, and that's probably a lot of fun. I've been wanting to ask this question for a long time now. By the way, I'm so excited to ask this. What is your pre-tournament meal? But you said you only eat one meal, so maybe this doesn't work.
Yeah, I'll have a good dinner the night before. I'll just say that. Like, I'll have a nice, like, I'm a pretty big foodie, so I'll like literally explore like literally what the best restaurants are in the area, and then I'll have a good meal there. So it's always just gonna vary. There's not like a set meal, I'd say, but I'd say right now, currently, I'm just trying to be a bit more healthier when it comes to like before tournaments, because I think nutrition can be a really big part of like doing really well at like performance wise. So I try to at least have a good amount of vegetables, fiber alongside good protein in general. But like, yeah, like it really just depends, because I also really enjoy like really well-known restaurants in the area. So again, super depends.
Yeah, so you kind of give your body what it needs for the next tournament. That's just smart. Some people they have like this ritualistic thing they do before or whatever it is. So I was kind of curious about that. But what's your go-to post-tournament meal? Like if you and does it vary if you win or lose?
No, it's still gonna be the same. Like again, there's not like a ritual thing. It's just like,
okay.
I'm gonna go out to a really good restaurant with friends. For the most part, like maybe in some cases, like if for instance Joe Ugarte wins and I happen to hang out with him, he's gonna drag us to like the restaurant he went to like for the last 3 days. Like he literally does this. But yeah, for the most part, I'll usually try again to, unless I'm traveling that night, like if it's like a regional and it's a Sunday night and I'm traveling back, maybe I'll do something like. But if I'm like staying till Monday, for example, I'm going to probably like have a good meal at a good restaurant where either a bunch of us are able to hang out, like Korean barbecue, or just a good restaurant in the area that is well known.
Okay. Well, that makes sense too. Like, because it also depends when you leave, right? Like everybody's leaving at different times and have different flights booked, right? What is a dream mechanic to bring back to the game, or I added this in brackets, or a new mechanic that you want?
I don't know if I really would want a new mechanic. I haven't really been a fan of the last 2 mechanics, but honestly, I do like, I mean, the thing is, Mega Evolution is probably my favorite mechanic, and it's coming back for Champions probably.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much an easy example. I wouldn't mind Z moves coming back though, because like I prefer Z moves over Terrestrialization or Dynamax any day of the week, because I feel like scouting for the Z crystals fun, and also like being able to like only use one move and having your held item be consumed, I think is like pretty nice to have. I think it's pretty balanced.
Well, and also like that, back when Z crystals were around, it was closed team sheet, right? So like you said, scouting. But nowadays, do you think they'd be less effective if it was open team sheet?
That I think maybe, which would kind of stink, but who knows? Because I think we had to add open team sheet in Terrestrialization, because it's really awful to play closed team sheet Terrestrialization. It's the worst mechanic, I think, for closed team sheet.
Oh, okay.
But also because Scarlet Violet, the way they designed this game, they don't have the competition like battle box locking. So in order to prevent cheating, you kind of need to have like a written form. So you have to upload your team online. So I think it really was required to have it. Otherwise, you could change sets in between theoretically. So yeah, like I'd say we could always go back to closed team sheet. It's like possible. Like, of course, nothing's confirmed or anything. I wouldn't mind if we went back to closed team sheet personally. I like closed team sheet more than open team sheet, but that's just me personally. I think it's more interesting in general. But yeah, like I think it would still be a fine mechanic in open team sheet as well.
Yeah, it does change everything when you have closed team sheet, right? Like there's less scouting. Like scouting is a big part of the game, right? Like as we talked about a little bit earlier in draft. But yeah, closed team sheet and VGC tournaments. Last one I have for you, because we've been going quite a while. What is the funniest or like weirdest tournament story you have?
Oh, dude, we would be here for like 20 or 30 minutes if I talked about the LIC hotel back when I won LIC, because it's like my two friends went out in LIC and they were going to go to McDonald's or something, and they were like, they had some alcohol before, so they weren't in the best mindset.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was like walk out of our hotel and go left. They went like right. And then like a few hours later, they come back and they wake me up. I'm trying to get sleep before our top cut because Lily is top cut the next day and I'm in the top cut. And then like there's like this man in the suit behind them, and like he drops them off, and it's like I'm trying to close the door. He has his foot in between the door, and it's like, wait a second. And then like the elevator opens up. There's another man in the suit bring up like a pizza, hands me the pizza, asks me to pay for it, and I'm like, all right. I pay for the man for the pizza. Then they leave, and this was like at 4 a.m. So I'm like not even questioning it at this point.
That's so weird. Did they explain themselves after?
So apparently when they woke up, I was already gone because I left for the venue. I was currently playing the top 8 match on stream. They turned on the TV. They see I'm down a game. They look at the pizza and I'm like, did we mess up?
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
That's a super short version, by the way. There was way more, but yeah, that's the super short version.
You know what? Like if you guys are part of James's stream in the future, because he does stream, ask him about that story. I'm sure he'd be willing to talk about it on his own stream. But no, that's a little bit of a teaser. I like that. That's funny. But no, seriously, thank you so much for doing this, man. Like this, like the fact that you agreed to do this, and I'm so appreciative of just allowing people to enjoy the WDL a little bit more. We kind of dove more into your competitive history than draft, but we did get into it a little bit. But that's been awesome. Like you've been doing this for like at a top level for like over 10 years. That's wild. Like, any final words before we kind of close out?
Not really too sure. I mean, people like Piplups right now, 4-1 going into the last 2 weeks, but it's a tough couple of weeks. We have Mr. PokeMMD himself, and then Mr. Aaron Cybertron Zhang, and to secure playoffs, I gotta beat one of the two. If I beat them in individual games, even if I lose the set, I could make it in. But it's gonna be a tough one. We'll try our best to win the league and get maybe the first draft league win, or maybe even the first finals at least. But this draft league's tough, man, and I really want to thank everyone who's been supporting the draft league. I think it's been a really cool project that there's a lot of people behind the scene. I want to shout outs to like everyone working behind the scenes for the Wolfey draft league, because there's a lot of awesome artists that we had. There's a lot of love going into the doc, and like people who made the tier list or the drafts ranking system, as well as like the Discord managers. Like they've all been super awesome. So this league couldn't have been helped without them, as well as like the people who've been watching. Like thank you guys and girls out there for like really just supporting the league. It's been incredible so far. Been having a blast. The coaches have been awesome to deal with. We have a lot of fun casual conversations here and there, and yeah, like it's just been awesome to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned your last 2 weeks, Joey and Aaron. Like you're 4-1 right now, and they're right on your tail right now. There's only 4 slots. I think might have got it locked in. Like you mentioned, you have like, I think you have to win one of the two, because I think 4 wins will do it. It'll come down to tiebreakers, but a 5th win would definitely secure it. So best of luck on your last 2 weeks, guys. If you haven't yet, go check out James on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Are there any other socials you want to mention as well? I can put them.
I mean, I have like 3 YouTube channels, so it doesn't really matter at this point. I have a Spotify, I guess, where we do the VGC podcast. But I mean, in general, just like go check out the coaches, obviously. Subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. And yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of awesome people here. So
yeah, the community's been great so far. So anyway, so drop a like if you learned something. Tell us how far you think James will go this season in the WDL. James, I appreciate your time, man, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Peace, guys.